Hey guys, welcome back to a video brought to you today by Total Cards, and today I have my first place Drytron OTS Championship list. I just got back from doing a tournament where I versed a bunch of different decks. There was 5 rounds of Swiss and I chose to play Drytron. It's a really cool deck and a deck I'm really comfortable with. And in a meta where there's lots of different decks, it can be hard to decide which deck is the best when you've got all Kashtira running about and all that stuff. So I'm going to break down the deck, the cards I play, and some of the reasons behind that, so you guys can probably, get an insight of the deck and learn to build your own, or if you're looking to buy the deck, why the deck is really good. But if you haven't already, do check out our channel, Total Cards. We have a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh opens and all that good stuff. And of course, head over to the website where we do all Pokemon singles, Yu-Gi-Oh, everything. Check all that out because there is a lot of good stuff on there. But without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. So with every Drytron deck, there is of course the most important names. You start with free Alpha, free Zeta, and that's pretty much always the case. You've got Alpha, which is your way of getting any ritual monster, and there's only 2 cards in your deck that let you search for any ritual monster, which is Herald of Arclight and Alpha, and Prep if you play Prep, but you're not going to see Prep all the time. So Alpha and Arclight are your 2 main ways of searching any ritual monster, and it's really important when you're doing your combos to be aware of that, because if you're wanting to end on specific ritual monsters or you need access to certain cards, you need to be managing your use of Alpha and Arclight, importantly, because it can be very easy to just be like, oh, Alpha, let's search Ben 10, and Ben 10 gets me everything. But that's not always the case with Drytron. So you do have to think about the stuff, but free Alpha is definitely mandatory, and then free Zeta, of course, which search for your ritual spell, which you also need to summon any ritual monsters, so also really important. Yeah, you need this, and if you open these 2 together, you're winning. You basically want to play as many cards in your deck that get you to these 2 cards so that you can win the game. I play free Delta. Lots of Drytron decks will only play 1 or 2 of the Drytron names. So it's important to kind of, the way Drytron works is you need to see 2 names. You need to see at least 2 names to even to do a good combo. When you see 1 name, you need a combination of some other like Diviner or Ben 10 to try and do a combo that is good, but it's not good with any interaction. So you want hands full of Drytron monsters. So playing free is really good. This one lets you draw a card by revealing a ritual monster or a ritual spell in your hand. So it gives you more chance of drawing into the important cards like Alpha, Ben 10, Zeta. It's really important. But of course, draw is a big problem with this deck. So you obviously would not want to be playing Drytron, a format where everyone is playing draw. So if draw comes up in popularity, Drytron will fall in popularity because it suffers very hard to Alpha. It does have combos, but again, it's situational. So Delta isn't as good because you could get hit by a draw and you'd have preferred to hit a Zeta or an Alpha. So when you're sequencing your Drytron names, prioritize the important ones. It's very easy to start Alpha and then do Zeta combo after. But if you're expecting to get hit by a draw, sometimes it's better to start Zeta and get your ritual spell rather than starting Alpha, because a ritual monster with no ritual spell is terrible. Whereas, yeah, your hand's very situational, but important to consider. And then, of course, the 2 Gamma. This one is the only Drytron that's not as good on its own. It needs another Drytron because it specs another one. So only 2 of this one, but you could consider playing free if you really wanted to max out. But that's it for the Drytron names. That's 11 Drytron names. And we'll put them over there for now. We play the 2 ritual spell, just because Kashtira is about, and if one of them gets banished, you want the other one to play. But the deck's way more explosive with 2, because if you've seen 2 of the ritual spell, you can just do some crazy combos. It's really nice. And the rest of the cards I'm about to show are just ways of getting to your Drytron names that you wouldn't normally get access to. You basically want to play as many cards as possible to get into the Drytron. So Foolish dumps a Drytron and then you can use one. Fafnir the field spell is really good. Searches for Nova or the ritual spell. So again, depending on the hand, this could be really good, and you might need a Meteorus Drytron to start you off as a combo, or Nova gets you any Drytron monster, and Cyber Emergency gets you any Drytron monster. Really, really good. And Fafnir does come up, where Fafnir has an effect where it has level modulation if you control a Drytron monster, so you can reduce levels of Kashtira monsters, of Sprite monsters. That does come up a lot, and important to remember if you're playing Drytron, because not many people play the field spell, 0 or 1 at most, whereas this card is pretty good if you want to play it. Of course, it does suffer a draw problem as well, starting Fafnir, Search Nova. But there isn't much you can do to play around draw other than more Orange Lights and more Called By, but they're both limited. So it is what it is, and that's it for the additional Drytron names, basically. If you count the Drytrons, it's like 3, 6, 9. So I'm playing 20 ways into a Drytron monster. So you should see the Drytrons a lot of the time. Because of course you need to see 2 if you're gonna do a really good combo. And then 3 Ben 10. Ben 10 literally makes the Drytrons way better. It's the best card in the deck. And then Natasha to help close up games. This card summons itself and takes a monster, not a hard once per turn, and you banish Cyber Angels to do it, which is wild. 1 prep. I don't know how I feel about prep. As I've said before, the Drytrons, you need to have the Drytrons. It's not as much, you don't need the ritual monsters in your hand as much. So prep isn't as good on its own, but it's nice to be able to search for any ritual monster, especially if you've accidentally wasted an alpha or you've wasted your Arclight and you need a way to get back to the ritual monster you need. Right is really good. I play 2 Diviner. Not everyone's playing 2 Diviner at the moment. Some people are playing 1 Diviner and the new Trillion Hands monster that was in Photon Hypernova. I chose to play 2 Diviner because the Trillion Hands is like it's more like situational. Like you wouldn't want to open Trillion without anything else, whereas Diviner can get you playing a lot more of the time, and I just like it. I like Diviner a lot. I'd consider playing free. It performed really well, and you can send things like Arclight and Entis, and yeah, it does some really good stuff. So Diviner definitely did very well over the weekend, and I didn't regret playing Instant, not playing the Trillion Hands, because this card was insane. Orange Light, always see it when you need it. So Orange Light also is really great. If this card came back to free, you'd probably play more. Yeah, because Ben 10's at free. People cut this down when Ben 10 got hit, but definitely a really good card. Some decks are playing Lancia in the main, as well as the Orange Light, but I didn't main it just because I valued having the follow-up player better than the blind Lancia, not knowing what your opponent's going to play. A lot of the time the Lancia is dead if you're not versing Kashtira, so I didn't want to do that. And it did pay off for me, but you know, you can understand if you get punished for it as well. So that is it for the kind of the ritual angel part of the deck. And then we've got the big boys, the big 3. I played Draconids, Vanity Ruler, and Chaos Max. So you've got 2 locks here, and then a different line of play here with the Draconids, which is really nice. So if you're versing like a spell trap deck and you're kind of aware of it game 1, you can end with like the Draconids and the Xyz monster, and then you've got a spell trap negate on board. So if you're playing a heavy spell trap deck, these 2 cards aren't very good. So it's good to have like a different line if you're aware, and then Vanity's Ruler and Chaos Max are absolutely busted. You summon Chaos Max on your opponent's turn so they can't activate monster effects, and Vanity's Ruler stops them from special summoning monsters. Playing both of these is like you'd think it would be a brick more, because you're playing 2 different lines that you're not always you've got to like pick one or the other, which you want to summon. It's very rare you can do both, but you can if your hand is cracked. But you would basically use one, which I found was really good. So I end Vanity's Ruler, and then the clear it or whatever. I'll summon this on the following turn to OTK. I'll do an OTK line, but I'll use this to stop them using monster effects. So I can't get interrupted by Nibiru or anything crazy, or vice versa. I did this lock, then when I go out for the kill, I will use Vanity's Ruler so they can't Nibiru or anything crazy. There was one game where I versed Branded, and I opened Book of Eclipse, Vanity's Ruler, and they ended the best branded board I've ever seen in my life. And Book of Eclipse normal summon Vanity's Ruler, and they just couldn't play anymore. Like, I had a Draconids and a Vanity's Ruler, and kill, and he's locked under a Draconids and a Vanity's Ruler, which was just wild. Like, he definitely didn't win that game. But that is it for the big boss monsters of the main deck. And then here we've got like the flex cards, you know, the board breakers that go seconds. You've got call by, you have to play call by. We've got triple tactics and then the free Book of Eclipse. I almost last minute decided to change Book of Eclipse, but it's really nice. And you know, these two cards all these cards have some application going first. For example, your opponent Nibiru's you and you can't play through the Nibiru. You can Book of Eclipse and change all your monsters to face down. And that way your monsters don't get Nibiru'd and you can still ritual summon and do all that kind of crazy stuff. So it's important to keep a ritual spell in your hand, but yeah, it's very, very nice that you can do stuff like that. And then the tactics, when I saw it was great, and call by is called by. Ash is being played again and Droll, and yeah, it's pretty wild. But that's it for the main deck, 40 card main deck. And the only thing I'd probably change is play more Diviner, but I don't know what I'd cut for it other than like a prep, honestly. So now for the main deck, not the main deck, the extra deck. I've got 2 Mu Beta, just standard. I think 2 Mu Beta has been standard forever. You could play a third, but I don't think you need to. I don't play the beta in the deck, so yeah, you don't need. Once you've sent one name, you really rarely need to send another one. And if you are sending another one, it's usually the big ritual monster. 2 Mu Beta is solid, and then the Beatrice for when you only open a Diviner and a, you know, like Ben 10 Zeta gets you full combo, whereas without Beatrice, Ben 10 Zeta would not get you full combo. So Beatrice came up a lot and is really nice. Then you got the Entis and the Arclight. The Kashtira players just banish these and they don't touch any of the other cards in the deck, which is really nice because you don't even need these, honestly. You can do combos without an Arclight, and you can do, this is just really good to break boards. If they get banished, it is totally fine. They'd be better off banishing Beatrice, honestly, in the event you've bricked, because that does happen a lot in Drytron. You've got Anima. You could play Link Rebo instead of Anima, but Anima's solid, and if the opponent's not playing around it, it is really nice. You end up with a free monster when you use Nova a lot of the time. So this is just nice to be able to steal one of your opponent's monsters. And then for our Link 2s, we've got IP, Dynamondo, and Mirage Light. Dynamondo is so you can summon the Chaos Max in your opponent's turn. Whenever I'd play Drytron in the past as well, I'd always play like the Nightmare monsters, the Link 2s, because I thought they were absolutely insane. This card is basically them. So if you're going second, it has a banish and a shuffle back a ritual monster from your graveyard. Oh no, sorry, it shuffles them both, sorry, it doesn't banish. So this is like insanely good spot removal. And it, like, there's no discard, there's no nothing. You just shuffle a Ben 10 back and then you've got another Ben 10 in rotation. It's absolutely wild, and this is like by far my favorite card in the deck. Some people play 2, but honestly, it's never been banished off a Kashtira player before. So like, yeah. If you need to, you could play 2 if you want to keep looping your Chaos Max, but you always win. If you resolve the Chaos Max, it's very rare you give them an extra turn after that. So it's wild, and Mirage Light is also amazing at getting you follow-up. I play the deck always to make sure I have follow-up for the next turn, because it's really hard to kill the deck. Like, it's really hard to OTK when I've put my board up. So I always make sure I have a Ben 10 in hand, but worst case and you don't, you can, you know, summon a Mirage Light and attack and recycle some stuff back if it crashes. So that did come up once as well, which was wild. And then for the big ones, we've got Unicorn and Boral Sword. Nightmare Unicorn, I don't think I summoned it at all. I would usually always play Nightmare Unicorn and Access Code, but I want to try Boral Sword out. And Boral Sword just won a lot. It was really good. I feel like there should be an extra big boss monster here, because sometimes it's very rare you'll do an OTK line without having some protection from a Nibiru. But sometimes with the deck, you can summon 2. You can summon a Boral Sword, you get Nibiru'd, then you summon an Access Code Talker, and you still win the game. So not having the option made me play it so much more conservatively. If I had an Access Code in the extra deck as well, I wouldn't have cared. I'd have just gone for game without a care in the world. And then the last is just the Zeus package. We've got 2 Zeus, just so it doesn't get banished with the Kashtira, and the Lyrilisk and the Downed Magician. With the Kashtira player, Drytron has a kind of a rough match against the Kashtira players. And of course, Talents is really good to take and then summon your own Zeus. So especially when they're ending like triple Arise Heart, it's hard to break a triple Arise Heart board. But you can do things like Tactics, Steal, overlay into a Zeus control from there. If they don't deal with a Zeus, because it can be hard if you have an extra Zeus negate live, you can always summon the second Zeus, because they never seem to want to banish the Zeus from your extra deck, so you only have one. So the double Zeus did come up, and that was nice. And yeah, Down a Magician's great because it gives you the extra mat, and Lyrilisk, you know, can attack for game. It also can't be destroyed by battle or card effects if you detach, so that's always right. Some people play Fuchi. I do like it, but it's just less mats for Zeus if you need to attack to get your own Zeus out. But yeah, that is it for the extra deck. And the side deck, honestly, the side deck could be way better. I've put 3 Lancia in because I'm not main and 1 Lancia. It's pretty standard for Drytron players to play Lancia, but my personal opinion is I don't feel Lancia is insanely impactful, even against a Kashtira board. If you Lancia the Kashtira player, they're still going to end on a board you're going to struggle to out. So all Lancia really does in that matchup is makes it harder for them to clear your board going second, so they can't just attack with a Fenrir and get the free banish. And all of our guys are small anyways, unless you're summoning the big ones, so the Kashtira players can attack over stuff like Mu Beta Fafnirs. So yeah, Lancia is good. I'll usually only put 1 or 2 in. I just don't feel like it's impactful enough to win me the Kashtira games. But we're silly not to play at least 1 because it's searchable, isn't it? I played 2 Dim Barrier, didn't use it at all, honestly. We were already playing some really great going first cards. I was struggling to find a card extra to put in. Probably should have been a Nibiru or something along those lines. Probably cut like 1 Lancia and these for 3 Nibiru. Definitely should have been the correct player. I played 2 Sphere Modes and 1 Lava Golem. I should be 3 Lava Golems. I just couldn't find my extra Lava Golems in time for the event. So that is that. Triple Evenly, you know, clears out branded players, and I like Evenly a lot. It did come up a lot. Side net almost always got second. There's not many decks it is bad against. And then 2 Cosmic, it could be free. There's a lot of Runic running about at the moment, and the Runic deck is kind of hard to deal with. So be aware that you need to, if you're playing Drytron, you need to have some ideas on how you're going to beat the Runic deck, because it is a difficult game to navigate, because you know they banish a lot of stuff. I've versed a Runic, like it's the new fish, I can't remember what they're called, but it's the new fish deck that banishes themselves and summons back, and there's a bunch of Runic cards in that as well. That again, you just have to be super careful against the Runic cards, because you know they pop you stuff like the Mu Beta Fafnir, they're getting free negates, they're getting so much more card advantage, and the boards we create aren't set up to beat a deck like that, so your Chaos Max and your Vanities aren't great. And then of course the Magic Keys to go first, and much better against a Spell Trap deck than the combo we do. So you might want to end with this and a gate where you move Beta Fafnir. But yeah, all in all, the deck was insane. I didn't lose a match, and played in a tournament right after, and and won that tournament as well. So really good deck. If you guys have any ideas or anything that you guys have tried that works, I'd love to know it. Obviously wanting to go to London in April for YCS London, and have absolutely no idea what deck I want to play. So it'd be great to hear what you guys are considering, you know, seems like a good deck. And if you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. We post a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon stuff, and check out the website at TotalCards.net where you can get sealed product and single cards. But without further ado, guys, thanks for staying to the end, and we'll see you in the next video.